Okay, SDS 1911A1 in 9mm. Uh, I bought one of these in 45 and never had a single problem with it. I took this one out, and what it was doing is failing to extract the cartridge. In other words, you'd fire it, the cartridge would still be in the chamber and it would jam up. Okay? Now, I tried getting all the gunk and oil out of it. It may have had some run in there. If that sticky oil was in the chamber after so many rounds, it would do that, but I kind of found it's intermittent. And certain types of ammo or brands of ammo would do it more than others. So the one thing I didn't clean is I didn't disassemble this, take the slide, drop down, get the firing pin and the extractor out of the slide and maybe clean. I have to see what's in there. Okay. It's not a deal breaker, it's a pretty simple thing. Somehow the extractor's sliding off the case. Okay. And if I'm correct, the way a 45 or this 1911 works is that extractor is stationary. And what happens is when you hit the magazine with the cartridge, when it comes out, the extractor, say where my finger is, but the rim of your cartridge would be down here. And then as you push it up, it's engaged into the slide, and as it angles up, goes into the chamber, the ass end of the cartridge would slip underneath the extractor, go to battery, and fire. So why that extractor is not pulling it out, I don't know. Why does it just do it on a couple cases? Okay, again, don't know. I have to think, all the things in my head how to diagnose this. So what we're going to do here to try to correct this, because other than that, this gun is super accurate. It's heavier than I think a 45 or most 9mm. It's heavier than most 9mm out there today. But this gun is super accurate. It's really easy to shoot because of the weight. In fact, it's all steel. If you like the 1911 profile, okay, a lot of people criticizing that, but the gun was in service with the U.S. military for 80 years, okay? And the reason these pistols are so popular is just about most people who've never been around a handgun but was ever in the service, this is the handgun you were trained on. So, to me, I can shoot one of these, 45, 9mm, whatever, okay? I've shot my 45s over 10,000 rounds through them, so the standard frame and grip in that fits in my hand, and I can remember back after all those rounds, I was quite proficient with these pistols. It's an easy gun for me to just pick up and get back and shoot, and this thing in 9mm, I mean, right on the mark. Okay, super accurate. A lot of fun to shoot, pleasant, easy to shoot, no giant recoil or nothing. So what we're going to do is take it apart and take a look at it. And I got to go back and remember all the stuff I remember about accurizing the old GI 45s to get them up to match grade thing. And I'm just going to take a look at the extractor. Either the extractor got a burr or is misshapen, or I may have to replace it with something. There's tons of 1911 parts that you can take one of these guns and comp them out. But I'm just going to try to diagnose this and see what the problem was with this, because the other one I had in 45 never had that problem. So let's get it apart and take a look at it. Alright, we got the gun apart. Now the extractor is here, inside here, and yes, it does have spring to it. I'll get it out. It's been a while since it does move. Okay, so there is movement in there. The extractor is not solid. So, like when I had a jam, what I would do is just clear the weapon, snap the slide back, and it would grasp the case, and when I pulled it to the rear, it would take the spent case out. So, and I said it was intermittent. So It could be I didn't take this apart and clean it. And how you would take this apart is in the back here, your firing pin comes through this little plate. And you would depress the firing pin in and then slide the plate down, get the firing pin out, and then the extractor will also come out from this. So you use a punch. I'm going to use this little tool. And it's hard for me to get this done because of my hands, but I'm going to push the firing pin in, slide the plate down, and then once I get the spring tension off, I'll turn the camera back on and I'll show you how to get this out. There should be videos on it. And also, thinking of this problem, there is a person that had one of these. There's several people out there did a video on this gun, and one guy had a problem where he would stovepipe. The empty brass would get hung up in the slide, which that may have something to do with the ejector, which is this piece right here on the frame, because when the slide comes back, this is what hits the one part of the cartridge, and the extractor's gripped on the rim, and that's what will fling it clear. My problem is the extractor was slipping off the rim. So let me get her apart, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, I've slid the little plate. It slides up into the frame. You depress the firing pin in. The firing pin is under spring pressure, so be careful so this don't go shooting out. And I believe then the extractor, I'll just reach in with this hook. The extractor should just slide right out of there. I think I may have to depress it up in here to get it out. I haven't done this in many years. Okay, I have it out right here, the extractor. And yeah, I had to go up inside and push it in to get it to go past the face on the slide and drop down. So looking at it, there's some brass. Okay, we'll zoom in here. Wrong button. Okay, looking at it, there's traces where the brass is rubbed on the bottom, the face, and the side of it. It's not misshapen or anything. And just feeling it. Can't feel any burrs or nothing on it. So, and there's no oil, gunk, or grime on it. And so what this does is this notch here locks this in place when this is up in the back of the slide. Okay, you see right there, that's locked into the slide, and because it's cut out here, that's where you get your spring. Okay, this actually will bend a little bit in there. Okay, so in actuality, really nothing, there's no oil. Check down in here. Yeah, there's some gunk and grime in there in the hole itself, so maybe cleaning that out would help. But I don't see why this would slip off unless it's not sharp enough. Okay, I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with it. And like I said, it was intermittent, didn't happen all the time. Okay. So nothing quite obvious other than cleaning it. And like I said, there's no burr or lip on it. And you really don't want to screw with that because that's critical of how it grips on there. Okay, that lip on this. So I don't know. I'm gonna clean everything and see if I can see anything there, and then try to get it back together again. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I ran some patches and got this grime and grit out of that hole, and upon looking at it, down in here where the hole is cut into the face of the slide, and this is where the extractor rides in there. Okay, now the bottom, that's brass. It's a brass color rubbing on there, I believe. But the top corner, it's not brass. The finish, this parkerized finish, is rubbed off. And also, looking at the hole, the bottom of the hole, the finish is there, but the top where it breaks out is bare metal. So that means I believe the extractor is rubbing on a burr or something wasn't quite deburred in that hole. And that is difficult to get at, because what that is a hole that is bored through, then the flat face is done there, make that horseshoe shaped thing. So where this broke out, I think, is rubbing on the edge of the extractor and the cause of that. So it's just a matter of knocking that down, but the difficulty in doing that, or what the hell I would use to stone that, or even reach down in there and hit that edge to polish it a little, it's tricky. So I'm going to have to think about that, but I do believe, because looking at this extractor, I can see where this is metal to metal rubbing, not the brass, because there's brass on the face and the yellow brass here, and then like on the feed ramp, the yellow brass, but this on the top is metal to metal, and it looks like that's where that's supposed to spring is dragging a little on that spot inside there. I believe that's what the cause of all of this is. So I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to polish that somehow. I'm not really sure if I have the correct tools or anything to do that. But that, I believe, is the crux of the problem that we have here. So that has to be done. And then assemble the gun back together, and that should fix it. Okay, what I've done is, because I couldn't get in there and file the edge of that hole and it was dragging, I took the extractor and just ran that spot where it was rubbing, and you can see it rubbed the finish off. I made some passes on this hardstone and basically just polished it smooth, and if any burrs came up, there's some rough edges, you just run it on there and take about 1/1000th or so off. And I think it did the trick, because once assembled now, this extractor moves a bit more freely in the hole there. I'm getting good movement with it now, where I wasn't before. Yeah, this. So I think that may have fixed the problem, just polishing that high spot off the extractor itself. Instead of trying to do anything to the slide where it was dragging, I just polished that a little. Now it transitions over that spot smoother. So I think that may have solved the problem, and that's about it. So I'll give you my conclusion on it. Actually, it was a minor flaw in there. That extractor was dragging just a bit. but you could see where it wore the finish. Okay, that dark gray finish. On the bottom, where the one breakout was, there was nothing. On the top, it looks where it was dragging and actually wore on the extractor and wore on that where the breakout was from the hole. So trying to get in there and file that little ledge ain't gonna happen. So basically take a little hardstone and a little, because it is a hardened piece, it's hard steel, okay? You're not gonna file that. And just get it nice and smooth and polished, take maybe a thousandths off, you know, which is quite a few strokes. And then got it to where, you know, everything was copacetic, and then just, when I put it back in, it moved a lot easier than it did before. So it could be what it was doing is just going back, getting hung up, and then when the gun would fire, it ain't gripping rim that well. Okay, the extractor groove, it's slipping off. And it didn't do it all the time. See, that's one of these weird things where it just rubs a little bit, a thousandths or so. We'll just do it intermittently. So I'm going to clean up the gun, get it back together, and just next time I go to the range, we're going to see if this problem goes away. All right?